What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spooks video on, well, number one, we support the SAG-AFTRA strike. So yeah, just to be clear, this is mostly talking about actually going to be talking about the reason why there will not be any movies coming out, possibly ever again, if we don't deal with problems related to the reason why the Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be delayed indefinitely. This is not a promotion of any movies. This is, but I just needed something to put up on the screen so that I can talk about this topic of why we have to get beyond the Crapitalism verse, which is to say that number one, SAG-AFTRA is still a strike, so please support them in any way you can. Share the posts. I'm trying to share as much as possible about not just the actors guild, but also the writers are on strike, and there's also many other actions happening. There's a Unite here. There's a big international or at least national workers in hotels and hospitality action that's going on at the same time, or they're thinking about doing an action, and so a lot of people are also supporting that. I know some people who are not going to conferences in Los Angeles because of that strike. So I do think that, yeah, so that's going to be kind of like the main topic because I think that's important for us to talk about. So, yeah, so just in case you didn't know though, the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, or sorry, not Into, Beyond the Spider-Verse is one of many shows that is going to be delayed indefinitely. So basically, yeah, Spider-Verse delayed indefinitely. Due to the strike, the voice cast cannot complete dialogue recording in time. A new date expected in the coming weeks. But I mean, the last that I have heard is that it basically is yeah, delayed indefinitely. That was the yeah. Beyond the Spider-Verse delayed indefinitely. It was meant to come out in March. So as of now, it was supposed to have come out in March, but it's not. There had been making changes. Sony had been making changes to the forthcoming release schedule as a result of strikes in Hollywood, which started with the Writers Guild and have now expanded to include the Actors Union. Give me 1 second. My computer's shorting down here. Beyond the Spider-Verse, the direct follow-up to this year's Across the Spider-Verse, was originally scheduled for release on March 29, 2024. The third and final installment in the animated series has now been delayed with no updated release in place as of yet. So there's basically no idea when it's going to come out. Possibly, it might, who knows? Because they can't really, how can you set a release date unless you know when the lines can be recorded, right? If the actors are not acting and you don't know when they're going to start acting, you can't set a release date. Not possible. The ongoing strike has meant that actors haven't been able to get into the booth to finish recording. Spider-Gwen actress Haley Steinfeld told The Hollywood Reporter back in June that she hadn't begun recording that dialogue, although she did say sessions for the second film took place across 4 years, so perhaps some recording scenes have been held back for the third entry. Across the Spider-Verse ended with Miles trapped in the universe. I mean, the plot is not that important, but the third film would obviously pick up from the cliffhanger ending, but it's not going to be as simple as Miles wanting to just escape the world. He is trying to do the right by yeah. Anyway, the rest of it's not super important. What's important is what is happening, which is that's this is not the only film, right? So let me just check this out. Films delayed due to strike. So Challengers, D20 Bad Boys 4, Craven Hunter, Untitled Ghostbusters, a Ghostbusters movie that was supposed to come out. It's not coming out. So yeah, for the first time in 63 years, the Screen Actors Guild joined the Writers Guild. Okay, so I think people probably know that already. So that it was just the Writers Guild. Now the Screen Actors have joined, and there is just a strike. That is, animators may also be joined in a strike. By the way, I was just looking at a lot of animators are in real trouble at the same time as the writers and actors, because the animators have their own labor organization, but they weren't scheduled to begin negotiations for that for another year, if I'm not mistaken. But right now, right, the AI art, which is part of this whole thing, right, is really the AI art, AI generative AI issue is really, really hitting the fan, and so, or it's really hitting people, and they're like being replaced right now. They're either being replaced or being threatened. They're on top of the studios just not paying their people well, and just giving them a really bad deal. And so the animators that generative art AI that makes pictures, moving images, the whole intro for Secret Invasion, right, was all AI generated. Just among other things. Oh, also lots of the Flash, which did terribly, by the way, which is, Ezra Miller is a terrible person, but on top of that, a lot of the Flash used a lot of AI and automated replacement of actors, even dead actors, like the original multiple former Superman actors, who had their entire likenesses replaced or generated by AI inside of the Flash movie. So there's a lot of the actors, the animators, writers, anyone who does basically almost anything, really. Everyone should be concerned about this, because it doesn't really matter what you do, especially if it's non-physical labor. It's kind of interestingly, right? This was actually kind of noted by a lot of people previously, but there's a book by Martin Ford called, what was his book? It's a book about AI and automation replacing so many workers, but actually that intellectual, creative, or at least non-physical, right? So think people who are doing work with their mind, information, data, art, anything that isn't like physical moving products, like a stalker or a truck driver or something like that, or physical construction worker. So non-physical labor is actually like easier to automate once the computer, a system is capable of doing it. It's a lot easier to automate that, and faster to automate that, and to roll it out across the board, because if it's just information that's like stored inside of these in zeros and ones in electrical circuits. It's a lot easier to replace that than to physically go out in the world and like replace all of the physical labor. It's actually more complicated to do that. But anyways, so but yeah, so basically the impacted movies include let's just go through this. The historic stand is in response to stalled negotiations with studios on fair compensation, self-tape auditions, AI, among other sticking points. While on strike, actors can't act or promote, which leaves studios with blank pages and empty seats. Below a running list of productions that have been affected by the actor strike so far. So Challengers, much awaited Challengers, starring Zendaya, Mike Face, Josh Connor, was supposed to hit theaters September 15th, but it is not hitting. So people are like, when are we actually going to feel, right? When are we actually going to feel the impacts of the strikes? Because the thing is, people have not. The strikes by the Writers Guild began in May, right? So it's May, June, July. We're about to hit August, so it's about 3 months, right? But that doesn't. But the impact from that, in terms of like a loss of movies and films and shows and content, etc., hasn't really been impacted the consumers, the viewers, like you, because, and myself as well, because they already had basically in the can or nearly done or just finalizing production movies that were like filmed in January or December or last year, and they were just hitting right for the last 3 months. But now they're gonna by at least September, you're gonna start seeing movies that were supposed to come out not coming out, right? So September 15th is one definite due date that is for a movie that is going to be directly impacted by these strikes. Um, so they have decided to push release to 2024. Strike forbids actors to do promotion for their movies, and with a cast like this, it's no shock that they would delay the film's release until he can get Zendaya's red carpet looks without being a scab. While Zendaya might take care of her little white boys, the AMPTP surely doesn't take care of the union. Problemista A24 release a 98-minute ode to Tilda Swinton's Neon Hair has pushed its August 4th release. So actually that's even earlier. So August movies and August shows will already be ones that are going to miss their date. So you're going to see all of a sudden these massive gaps in releases, right? Which is good, because then that means, that means that like the corporations like Netflix, like Sony, I guess A24 is included in this one, although some A24 shows have been I think some of the indie productions have been greenlit as okay to work on by SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild, certain ones, because A24 met the stipulations, met the asks by the writers and the actors, right? Or at least the actors. I forget which one, but it's basically like I mean, it's not very much. It's like it amounts to 3% of the total revenue that Hollywood generates. So it's nothing. It's peanuts compared to how much money the entertainment corporations make, right? But still, August 4th movie, Tilda Swinton's August 4th release is gonna be delayed. So that's already, what is today? So as of today, it's 29th. So that's in less than a week. We have there's definitely gonna be missing movies. So this is where it's really gonna get interesting, right? I mean, in my opinion, what's up, Victor, and what's up, Big Teal? In my opinion, this is where it's really gonna get interesting, because for the last 3 months of the writers and actors strikes, it's basically, I mean, Disney had already, as I've brought up on several other streams, right? So Hollywood companies lost money. They lost like tens of billions of dollars already, right? The entertainment industry lost $10 billion in one day in May, just right when the actor strike was fully initiated, and the writers began marching on the streets of Hollywood with the picket signs, walking off all of their movies and shows. That already caused the Hollywood studios to lose $10 billion in a single day in the stock valuations of their companies, because of the dark and ominously bad prospects for their future business. Hollywood and they lost even more money, where let me see where's the other ones. Yeah, Disney and Hollywood is in generally slashing jobs. This is all happening at the same time. This is a lot going on at the same time. I'm trying to find the actual dollars. Yeah. So I mean, I was reading another recent one. Basically, they've lost tens of billions of dollars already, and they're gonna keep losing money. But the thing is, they haven't actually, that's just based on possible future impacts to the companies. Really, it's not really based on it's not based on actual lack of products coming out of Disney and coming out of Sony, coming out of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon streaming, and just blockbuster movies, movies in theaters. It was based on the future, right? But now it's going to be, what's going to start hitting is people are not going to be getting any new movies. When you turn on Netflix, you're going to be like, okay, what do I watch on Netflix today? And there's going to be nothing new, right? Okay, what am I going to watch on Amazon Prime? What am I going to watch on Disney Plus? What am I going to watch on Hulu or the Tubi or whatever other platforms you've got? What am I going to go see in a theater? And there's going to be nothing in the theater. Just like nothing in the theater. So you're going to want to go to the theater, but there's nothing in the theater, right? And that is when it's really going to start hitting. People are going to be like, what the hell? Why am I going to go to the theater, right? right? Because people talked about, what was the Barbie Heimer girls, right? Like last weekend, there was these, two big movies that came out, $235 million, right? They were generated us a lot of money, right? But then suddenly, there won't be any films to see. Like, I mean, there basically be nothing of any size that most audiences would be used to going to. So what that means is that the theaters are going to lose tons of money. I mean, they're not going to have anybody in their butts in the seats. They're not going to be selling the popcorn and the drinks. The Disney, now that doesn't usually go to the Disney corporations, but it is going to have a knock-on impact on all the other related businesses. Which is like, the reality is like, everyone, the thing is like, it's like, when a strike happens, like obviously you want to target it the most at the people who are causing the damage, which is the capitalist bosses, the owners, the corporations that are not paying, taking the, as you would say in ye old Marxist terminology, the surplus value generated by the labor, which is writing, acting, animating, etc., and then hoarding that for themselves, and they're not paying it out. But at the same time, the whole society should realize, right? The whole society, because there's still a lot of people who don't. There's still a lot of people who don't even realize, and I include myself in that. So I mean, this is not just like, I'm kind of trying to say that I'm trying to finger wag and publicly shame people or something. I mean, I didn't even realize how important the writers and actors are. In fact, somebody posted, like I said, I mean, my comment was, when it was announced that Beyond the Spider-Verse would be delayed indefinitely, my take on that was, hey, it's not, oh, I hate writers and actors because they're striking, right? I don't think that's I think that that's a pretty cringe, very not good, a double plus bad take. I think it's, it should be, writers, actors, and animators deserve living wages and dignity. Just basic. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, about this on multiple platforms, on this platform and also on Twitch, about the kind of the poverty that most actors and writers live in. 87% of all actors, at least, and I believe many writers as well, don't make it. They live below the poverty line. They make less than $27,000 a year in Los Angeles. That is like making that's like making $5,000 a year anywhere else. It's so expensive, right? In these major cities, mega cities like that. And so they're like in absolute poverty. Like they have, like most of them, almost every single one of them, with very, very few exceptions of like the top 0.1% of actors and writers, who have access to millions of dollars. But that's the ones that people think of as, oh, rich, famous actors. Who cares about those spoiled brats, right? Most of them live, like, as I calculated on, I think it was on the other platform, but the actor who was in 40 plus episodes, Kimiko Glenn, in Orange Is the New Black, a very popular, one of the hit Netflix TV shows. I calculated it out. She was in 40 plus episodes. She was in multiple hours per episode of work, obviously, right? And she was paid like $27 for all the work that she ever did. I calculated it out. In some episodes, she got $0. She got nothing, right? She made 3 cents per hour, approximately, like 3 to 5 cents per hour, working on that show, right? That's less than the prison laborers making Victoria's Secret garments in prison, right, for like 25 cents an hour in Orange Is the New Black. So some Hollywood writers and actors routinely make less than prison laborers in the United States, right? So I mean, that's actually worse than you make less. You could make 100 times less working as a Hollywood actor or writer than working at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So people say like, oh, the writers and actors and the animators, they're not real workers. They're spoiled. They're just lucky they get to do these things. No, it's work. It's work. Entertainment. People think, oh, it's entertainment. It's just fun and games. It's nice to look at. And I speak as somebody who has worked in, I make mostly games, but I have worked on film. I was in film school at one point. I worked on film. I've worked on animation. I've done animation. I've done all of it, it is hard work. Doing still art, even just putting together like still images for even marketing stuff that marketing is crass and schlocky and it's prime. It's part of consumerism, capitalism. I mean, it sucks, yeah. But I mean, making anything that like the stuff that people call content, which is very degrading. I don't really. I always, as I always bring up, I hate that term, but making art, and film is art, and TV is art, and games are art, and animation is art, is work. It's not always fun. It's not. Sometimes it's grueling. You sit there, like when I'm making Neofeud 2, I'm like sitting there animating for 8 hours just to get, a character's, cybernetic arm to open up, and just the person walking takes me hours just to get one character to walk, and so all of that is work. It is not, and yeah, sometimes it's fun. A lot of it's fulfilling. A lot of it's grueling. A lot of it takes a lot of time. The animators who worked on Spider-Man, all the Spider-Mans, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, the ones we're working on Beyond the Spider-Verse, they're being paid really terribly too. They're not even on strike yet. I hope they go on strike. They should all go on strike. Everyone should be on strike, but certainly all the creators. In part because people don't realize how much work it takes to make the entertainment and art that everyone loves. People don't even. The thing is, I think that there's so much out there, right? Because you have so many entertainment companies now. You have what are all the streaming services? You've got infinite content. You've got you've got your Max. You've got your Hulu. You've got your Netflix. You've got you've got the Disney Plus. You've got there's so many. It's hard to even keep track of. There's just like so much out there, right? And people are, and there's Hollywood movies, there's all these video games all over the place, right? But people, there's so much stuff out there to consume and fill your eyeballs with, right? There's so much art. I mean, I would call it art and entertainment. There's so much entertainment out there that people, it's been like that for a long time. It's been like that for a long time. Obviously, that's art that I made of myself for other people to consume. But even that took me a while to put on. Holly, help me take the picture. But I lost my there it is. But, it's kind of like there's so much out there for people to consume. There's so much entertainment that people take it for granted that, well, it just shows up. I turn on my Xbox, there's all these games. I turn on my TV, there's all these shows, right? I go to the movie theater, there's all these movies, right? Like it just comes to me like, it's like people don't think about how hard it is to get a hamburger or tomatoes into your grocery store, right? But that's like, oh, it just magically appears in my grocery store. I mean, yeah, but they hide all of the process, right? But sometimes talk about like hiding how the sausage is made, and a lot of that is because a lot of the ways they make it is gross, like how terribly the actors are treated. I mean, it's not fun a lot of times to watch somebody make this stuff because it takes a long time. It takes a long time. That's why I don't like to do dev streams sometimes, because like game developing is like, people say they want to see it. They say they want to see me making Neofeud 2 and Neofeud and other games. But the thing is, when I'm sitting there just like trying to find semicolons and fixing, syntax errors and painting 25,000 brushstrokes very slowly, people don't actually want to see that. What they want to see is the 10,000 hours it takes to make 15 minutes of condensed consumable, entertainment. But every minute of movie time you watch, especially for a bigger, like Neofeud is just like me as an indie one-person developer, right, making a game. To make something like Spiderverse or a Barbie or something like that, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of hours probably. If you add up all the thousands of workers plus all the other staff, the janitors, the grips, the coffee runners, all the people, all that, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of hours per minute that you consume of entertainment, right? So every minute you sit in front of your TV or at the movie theater and you consume, or you're watching on your phone or wherever, every minute you consume, think of the hundreds of thousands of hours of other people who have been literally slaving away, because you're making slave labor wages, like prison labor wages sometimes, right? Literally like slaving away so you can consume that minute. right? I mean, on top of the people who keep the electric wires up, and then the international system of fiber optic cable satellites that deliver the electrons into your eyeballs. That all that but the people that just make the art itself is like so many hours, right? And people don't realize that. So if all the artists and the writers and everybody and animators and everyone, and I hope all the game workers also all go on strike and just say, well, we're not making anything, then people might realize, hey, it like the people who do art, the people who make the costumes, write the stories, right, produce the moving, compelling, relevant, edifying things that enrich lives, right? The collective dreaming and the collective soul searchings when it's doing its job, that is art and entertainment and storytelling, that is invaluable really to people's lives, right? I think people don't realize that because people have been able to take it for granted for their entire life, that there will always be new stuff for me to turn on a screen and consume, right? The content will always be there, right? The content will always be there, and the container is what should make all the trillions of dollars, right? But what if all the content disappears, right? People have never had the content withheld from them. I think I think consumers are spoiled brats who need to have a consequence on top of the studios, because when people start realizing how much they actually, and when people are watching the 25th AI, as I said in a previous stream, when people are watching the 25th AI generated, Bob Iger inserting himself into an Iron Man romantic comedy that's the same as the last Iron Man rehash of the last Iron Man rehash. Every time AI, eats its own output, it gets worse and worse, right? It's like it is bit rotting itself into oblivion, right? The AI Chat GPT as of now, right? 3 months after it began solving mathematical equations, it was initially it was getting 98% of the right answers. Now it gets the answers right 3% of the time on mathematical equations. So the art and the content that is being put out by AI, similarly, there's actually scientists are describing this process as I forget, there's a specific term for it. It's digital AI entropy, where the AI generators, right, when they generate and then consume their own content, which they're doing, right, it actually causes worse and worse and worse and like infinitely worse output. So the AI, to make some even halfway passable stuff, has to feed on, it is literally, AI is like a parasitic vampire feeding on human output. So maybe after the 25th, the only thing on Netflix and Amazon is like 75 fingered twisted, messed up versions that only have Henry Kissinger and Bob Iger, because only billionaire white dudes are going to be the ones starring in these movies because they can't get any other actors, right? Telling the same story badly again, right? Maybe then people will realize that they should have respected the artists and creators more, and then maybe they'll be like, okay, well, studios, then they'll be like, well, I mean, and it's like whatever happens, I think it's good, because the strike is good because people, well, like I said, strikes they're not just a thing that it's about getting a $3 raise on your $15 wage. That's good, but strikes can and are much more than that. They are educational. Strikes are global teaching moments that teach everyone new things about the world that they didn't know before the strike happened, right? Like or all mass actions, right? When Black Lives Matter happened, a lot of people learned more realities about what it's like to be black and brown in places like the United States than they did before, and it created new organizations, and it created a new generation of people moving forward. Even the people that aren't black, they were like, people listened to people that and heard people in a way that they didn't before. Right? Not just the politicians, not just the police department. They don't listen for the most part, really. They certainly haven't. I mean, it was a wake up call, but I mean, but who really learned was all the other non-black people, right? When a strike happens, the people who have to hear and see, right, when the actors and writers and they're some of the most visible people are out in the street, right? And you have to see you know, Breaking Bad's Mr. Heisenberg, right? Because what's his name? Bryan Cranston was out there, right, giving a speech, right, on the strike. He directly addressed the passionate people. This, everybody knows who that is, and he's out there going like, "We are not being paid. This is about our dignity. We are all on strike," you know. And then you have like, you know, even Dwayne Johnson, which, like, you know, I have like some things I don't like about that guy, but he donated multi-millions of dollars to this action, and people are seeing and hearing all these stories. You know, even just, right, like I just told you, like I'm somebody who works in the arts, right? And even I didn't realize like how terribly I didn't realize how terribly the Hollywood writers and actors are paid. Where's the Orange is the New Black? I know I got it here. Shoot, I know Holly's got it probably. Yeah. So let me see. Kimiko Glenn. The residuals checks. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Where is it supposed about the residuals? Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, so there's lots of people have talked about this, right? But Orange is the New Black was canceled to forbade the stars from attending any events around the show, stopping them from supplementing their income. So while Netflix was underpaying their actors and working out how to deny them residuals, they were also forbidding them from doing events that would have allowed them to bump their meager earnings. Let me just find that one. I can probably find it. This is one of many, right? So Orange is the New Black signaled the rot inside. Here, this is one. You know, until the strike, right? Until the strike, nobody was looking at this. I mean, this had been happening for decades. You know, like decades this had been going on, but like it was not commonly known, right? You know, people were bartenders, that these people were being paid so terribly. Kimiko people were bartenders, people had second jobs while working on hit shows like Orange is the New Black. They were famous as shit, like internationally famous, couldn't go outside, but had to keep their second jobs because they couldn't afford to. So they were so famous that they couldn't go outside without being like attacked by fans. But even still, even the big stars were so poor, despite being so famous, that they had to have second jobs just to live. How you see like that really, you think that fame automatically equates with wealth, you know? And like even I would have, you know, if you asked me, I probably would have said some incorrect things, you know. And like I try to stay up to date on this. I even work in entertainment, right? But you know, even I didn't realize how, you know, how some of the most famous people are on food stamps, you know. Some of the most famous people, like, you know, Twilight star, what's her name? Twilight star, Pitch Perfect star, Anna Kendrick, you know, she's like Pitch Perfect. I mean, these are huge movies, right? She's been in so many movies. She had to like rent shoes. She had to like, you know, live on credit cards she couldn't afford to go to her own premieres because that's how poor she was. She couldn't afford to go to the opening days of her own, the opening runs of her own movies. And like the Kimiko is one of the people, she was on Orange is the New Black, you know. And so for all of her work for 6 years, of work, she got $27. I mean, when I calculate that out, what that comes to, that's like 5 cents. That's 5 cents to 3 cents per hour. You're basically working for free. That's when you're doing creative work. This is disgusting. You know, I calculate working on Neofeud. I've made more money than Kimiko. I've made more money working on Neofeud than, you know, blockbuster movie makers and like Netflix original series like flagship stars. Like I make more money. We've made more. I'm not making tons of money either. We're not making very much money at all, really, right? When it comes to the total hours put in. But even still, we've made more money per hour than um, than a lot of the actors that are in like the biggest shows ever. This is ridiculous. It's I mean, it's really like it's just criminal. It's just like ridiculous. But without the strike, right? Like this is not like, oh, all of a sudden this became true in May of 2023. This has been going on for decades, right? You know, we John Cusack talked about no money for Say Anything, right? You know, little known indie actor John Cusack, D-list. No, everybody knows John Cusack, right? Say Anything grossed $20.7 million at the time. But when John Cusack, right? I talked about this several times, but I don't think I talked about it on YouTube. Say Anything, he didn't make any money for this. He said the greed is legendary in Hollywood. It's so legendary, it's almost a comic trope. One fun fact: when I was younger, I did a film with a boombox. Somehow he got a percentage. Never expected to see any money, but the film became quite famous. It was net, not gross. They always do that to you. So it's basically ways to screw you out of money. Never expected to see any money, but the film became quite famous. So about 10 years ago, I looked again at the financial statements, and to my shock, they claimed they had lost $44 million. To release was minimal at the time. 30 years in, that film lost millions every year. So every year, somehow, they basically spent almost nothing for that film, but somehow every year they were losing millions of dollars, right? Despite that film making way more than it cost to film, right? Because of the scale of the production. And now it was like a sleeper hit. It was a smaller budget movie that just grossed way above its weight class, you know? And so and he got nothing. He got nothing for that movie. So, and that's just one example, right? So I had no idea about that. I know John Cusack. That's from the 1980s. That's from the 1980s, right? And then you would always hear about these troublemakers. Oh, there's these troublemakers in Hollywood. There's troublemakers in Hollywood. When they talk about troublemakers in Hollywood, it's basically people. A lot of times it has to do with sexual harassment and abuse of women in Hollywood, which is, you know, ask the Weinsteins, ask everyone in the Me Too movement. Also, fuck Kevin Spacey. That's a horrible verdict that recently came out. So in the so-called U.S. justice system, a lot of times the people who are making trouble in Hollywood are people who are trying to speak out about the legendarily terrible corporate abuses of everyone, actors, writers, etc. And they're basically like, never talk and you'll never work again, or don't talk about that. And because obviously, like, this has all been true this whole time, but most people, almost everybody, outside of people who are in the rooms, people who are getting those $0 paychecks, right? Somebody pointed out, like, you know, all these $0 paychecks, $0 residuals checks, and somebody's like, Lizzie McGuire's dad, Robert Carradine, reveals his $0. So Lizzie McGuire, this show was super popular when I was growing up. I remember this show was like everywhere. My sister she was talking about Lizzie McGuire was the only thing coming out of her mouth for like a few weeks, right? And the actor who was like, you know, and then people are like, well, that's not the main actor. Well, I mean, like, all the actors, everyone in a airport or in Tom Hanks's terminal, everyone in a bar. When Ghost Rider, we just watched Ghost Rider last night. So when Nicolas Cage goes into a bar, all those people in the bar, all the bikers. When Arnold Schwarzenegger goes into a bar, all the bikers, all the waitresses, the bartender, everyone in a movie set that you need to make a movie. You can't just have a star by themselves unless you're making freaking 127 hours. But not everybody doesn't want to watch 127 hours with James Franco sitting around cutting his arm off every single time they make a goddamn movie, right? You know, you need actors in movies to make movies, not just the one main actor. A lot of times the main actor is just the face man. He's just like the guy who looks, you know, most strong-jawed, broad-shouldered, you know, stereotypical leading man guy. And everyone else actually you need them, and the actors plus all the effects people plus all the makeup and the music and everything, and the writers obviously, and all those people, you know, that are not like the giant marquee name. And sometimes even the giant marquee name like John Cusack, right? But everyone else definitely, a lot of times they're getting nothing. They're getting $0. They're getting 0 cents and $0. And so Robert Garradine revealed that it's $0 residual, 0 goose egg residual check is a thing. And he said, I think he tweeted like, this is why we're going on strike. Why we're striking is because you pay me nothing, right? You're paying me nothing. So it's kind of like when somebody sends you a $0 residual check, that is nothing but an insult. That is nothing but an insult. They don't need to send you that check. That's not necessary. It's not that. That's a waste. That is a waste of the 25 cents or $1 or whatever the postage is. That's a waste of the 50 cents envelope. That's a waste of the time of that the UPS or the postal service or whatever mail delivery service that is driving that letter around. That's a waste of the bank's checkbook checks. Like what? It's a waste of paper, right? The only reason why they send you a $0 residual check really is to insult you, is to say we're getting away with massive, mega scale criminal thievery, and fuck you, actor and writer. That's basically all it's just a middle finger. The studios, Bob Iger might as well call up every actor and writer at Disney that's ever worked for Disney and personally tell them fuck you, or just have like a AI generated Bob Iger robot voice go fuck you to every single one of them, right? Because that would save paper. It would save trees. It would save the quadriceps of the postal service that has to get out of the truck and walk to the mailbox and put the $0 check in the Robert Carradine's mailbox. You know what I'm saying? So, but the strike is very important. The strike, more than just whatever wage increase, whether the writers get water breaks as the world is being burned by capitalism, and people's the street, you can cook an entire steak in 10 seconds on the sidewalks in Los Angeles and Arizona, whether people get water breaks in these strikes, from the strike, whether people get any residuals, whether people get some kind of reassurance that they'll have some money from all the work they've ever done, some kind of deal with AI, whether they get a pay raise, healthcare, health insurance, and any of their demands met or not, the strike has already had an impact because so many people are learning about this. Even YouTube essayists, Twitch essayists, I'm not a YouTube essayist. I just have a YouTube channel, and I kind of mad lib pseudo essays every Saturday morning, kind of just to have something to do and do something other than, do Neofeud 2 work. But also, but for people who have to think about what will you talk about? Because so many people, their entire career is just promoting and talking about and analyzing movies and games and entertainment products, right? It's all the primary art, which secondary art, which is the criticism of that art, relies on. But if you don't have any central art, right, to be speaking about, you don't have anything either. Nobody has anything, right? No, without the writers, actors, and all those creators, there is no YouTube. They say the video essay is like the #1 YouTube video type now, or it's like one of the top outside of like cleaning videos and a handful of those other ones. It's what most people watch. So there are no video essays. There is no Twitter commentary. There is no TikTok. Look at my cosplay of this and look at my dance of that. There's none of that, right? There's none of that. Without the entertainment, the core entertainment and art being produced in all the different mediums, there is nothing of that other stuff, right? I mean, apart from other things, also people just, some people, well, it's good because everyone will go touch grass. And I mean, people should be touching grass anyway. People should be touching grass anyway. But I mean, people need to, interact with nature, and then also people need, people need stories, and people need entertainment. People need to see their lives reflected at them in some way. People need to see different perspectives. People need to laugh and cry and do these things outside of just constantly being in needless drama with each other. It's not necessarily helpful or healthy. So like it is massively the art and entertainment. Sometimes I think derisively labeled content, I would argue. Christopher Nolan even came out and just said it. Like, is this film art or content? He kind of classified different movies. Well, this schlock movie that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that is content, and his movie Oppenheimer, that's art. So but you know, I don't. Christopher Nolan is, as I've kind of dissed him a lot, so I'll save that for the Twitch stream. I'm gonna keep doing it, but it's fun. But I did a lot of it last week. What I talked about is Doctor Strangelove bad ripoff. But anyways, I think it's called like Boppin' Mao. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. I don't know any of his movies. That's how much I don't care about him. But anyways, when you have a people understand that there is a value to people don't understand, but at least some people do understand that there is value in entertainment and in art. And there are people who don't understand that, they will soon come to understand that as they are lacking all of that which they have been used to consuming. And so that is invaluable, right? That like there is nothing but a strike that could ever really educate people the way that this actors and writers strike has already educated a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And also the education to all workers, whether you are a truck driver, a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, a Amazon warehouse fulfillment center worker, whether you are a tech, a programmer, writer, a writer of anything, a teacher, a university professor, a UPS worker, a USPS worker, whatever you do, the strike is telling everyone, hey, this is a thing that can happen. This is a thing that can happen. This is a thing that's happening, right? This is the impact that you can have. This is what capitalism actually is, right? And you see a bunch of Bob Igers, right? Bob Iger getting dissed by Ron Perlman, right? And you see that Ron Iger is in fact, right, hanging out at his billionaire summer camp, saying these writers are asking for too much while making $27 million. It reveals what nothing else can to more people than anything else can, right? Because it's important for people to talk about these things and agitate for the working class and try to stop the capital. I mean, obviously the capitalist system is the one that's got to be gotten rid of if you want to really have any even just according to environmental scientists who are honest, have a chance of not total collapse of the planet Earth, right? But if you want to have even just so if we want to deal with that problem, right, talking about it is good, right? Video essayists and leftist agitators, and that's all good, and social all the different tendencies and ideologies, holding signs and commenting to each other and talking about it in their Discord, talking about it in your family, talking about it in your work and home, and hey, this is a problem. But when the strike happens, it's gonna hit so many people, and it's not just hitting people in a theoretical way, right? When the strikes happen, they hit similarly, when water protectors take a direct action. When in Hawaii, when we had the Mauna Kea action, when 20% of the entire country of Hawaii was in support of in some of them were strikes, some of them were hotel strikes, and they were airline strikes. They were shutting down highways. When huge actions like that happen, it suddenly the entire population is transformed. They're transformative, sometimes called nodal points or nexuses of civilizational change, right? And sometimes they have huge, long-lasting impacts. Sometimes they're not as lasting, but something always happens. Even Occupy didn't win all the things that a lot of the occupiers, I was one of them, wanted. We spent a lot of time at Occupy or Deoccupy Honolulu, which is to pay respects to the illegal U.S. occupation. It was Deoccupy Honolulu, but though all the bankers have not gone to prison and the capitalist corporate corruption has not been cleaned out of the United States yet, it's still a lot of people learned a lot there, exchanged a lot of ideas, went through something that lasted with them for the rest of their lives. And a lot of them also went on to become people who like led a lot of the movement towards socialism in the Bernie Sanders campaign, which again didn't succeed everything that I wanted to. A lot of people learned things during that, even though, you know, and I'm not big on U.S. electoral politics, but still, a lot of people did learn a lot in that action. And in Black Lives Matter, people learned a whole lot, like I already mentioned. So similarly, like this writers actor strike, which I think is not, I don't just think, it basically is the biggest entertainment strike ever. This is beyond the 60s because it's the writers, it's the actors. It's at a time that's critical. Capitalism is on its last legs. As I already said, the environment, the world, both because of climate change, and like I said, that's the slow, 50-year death by super high temperatures and heat. And then the fast way is, U.S. imperial capitalism-based nuclear war, trying to defend capitalism and maintain the military-industrial complex is the fast way to die, right? It's basically also dying from capitalism because the U.S. is the superpower, just pushing and constantly aggressing against everyone else to start these wars. But so both nuclear war, non-nuclear planetary destructive war, climate change, just societal dysfunction and breakdown due to the rich and the poor being so distant, and then the rich employing all of these police and jackbooted thugs to crush the poor, and that nightmare. All of these problems, all of these kind of different ways to collapse, come from kind of coming back to this thing, the idea of beyond the capitalism verse. If we want to have movies ever again, and really, if we want to have a civilization that is worth living in, or any kind of society or any kind of world, we have to get beyond the capitalism. But that does not happen instantly. It doesn't happen easily. It's not easy. It's hard a lot of the time. It's hard, like animating millions of hours worth of Spider-Man animation, like sitting there and fixing brush strokes. It's hard like that. Because creating entertainment is hard. Striking is hard because it's going to take time out of your day. It's going to take money out of your pocket that wouldn't have been there. It's disrupting your life. But it's actually, it's not much different than making 3 cents an hour working on Orange is the New Black, or Lizzie McGuire, or Say Anything. It's actually, when you're striking, it's kind of like if you are working on Hollywood projects, you might make $0. So if you're striking, at least you're impacting Hollywood while also making $0. It's almost like how can you lose, right? If you work as a writer or an actor or an animator for a lot of these studios, you can make 3 cents an hour, or basically 0 per hour, right? So why not make 0 per hour while blowing up all the corporate profits and making them hold their feet to the fire, right? Now, the real drawback is you don't get to work on your projects, because people would like to, while it is work, people would like to animate. I'm sure Kimiko Glenn would like to act, and Lizzie McGuire's dad, Robert Carradine, would like to act. John Cusack would like to act, right? Dwayne Johnson, I mean, he's not the best actor ever, but he would like to act. Dave Bautista, better actor, capable of making facial expressions and conveying weight and gravitas. He would like to act. He would not like to have to not act and not promote, right? He'd like to do the work that is acting, right? Because work while hard, it is also rewarding, especially if it's something that you value, people value, and brings something to your life. But but things can be simultaneously difficult, hard, and sometimes grueling, but also beneficial to your life. Work can be hard and difficult, but also something worth doing. And that's something that people have to realize. And so so creating movies and creating shows and animation and creating, games. Like sometimes like, oh God, I gotta go work on Neofeud again. Oh God, this is like so hard. And I'm like, I gotta go, but I gotta finish it. And when I'm done with it, I'm like, I'm really happy that I went through that 2.5 years for Neofeud 1 and 6 years for Neofeud 2 to get the games done, because it is worth it in the end, into what it brings to people's lives, in what it brings to my life, in the entertainment value and also educational value. Well, for me anyway, that's the way that I view things, right? Is that games and movies are not just about, if you pay attention to my streams, right? Games and movies are not just about distracting you for a little bit, but um, describing the world, being relevant and important to the world, changing the world in some way, educating people, changing their perspective on things in some way. And that's why I do what we do. And I think most actors, even if they're not doing exactly what I do, most creators, actors, writers, etc., are trying to do something that is unique and valuable and useful and relevant and is coming from a real human place, right, in the world. Not a artificial intelligence ripping off a plagiarism software ripping off some other human's actual experiences and regurgitating nothing, soulless vapidness, which is basically what the AIs do. They're not really AIs. They're plagiarism software. Let's be real. It's bad plagiarism software. And so that is something that people that's another thing, right? Even just teaching people that only the strike can really bring to the forefront the real dangers and problems of AI, right? A lot of people, it seems like, if artists and writers, right, and etc., right, did not speak up about the AI art, a lot of people could be. Some people have actually said, and I think it's correct. Humanity is being groomed to be used to consuming AI generated, watered down, second rate stuff. Some people say, "Oh yeah, I guess I know it's AI generated, but I love it anyway." So people are being people are being adjusted. People, I think Jaron Lanier said, the problem with artificial intelligence is you can't tell whether the AI is getting smarter or you're dumbing yourself down and you're making yourself smaller and lesser as a human being in order to make the AI appear smarter, And I think when people say, "Oh, it's AI, but I love it anyway," I think people are making themselves smaller human beings, right? It's usually like some cis white rich dude who's a crypto bro. He's trying to get in. He's like licking Sam Altman's butt and Peter Thiel going selling his biometrics over and trying to get AI coins, right, to worship his new overlord. Just singing praise to seven-fingered monstrosity ripoff of someone else's. Going, look at my beautiful AI art that I made. That isn't AI, it's plagiarism software art. But so people could. There is a version of the future where, as I said, people accept schlock, ripoff, like regurgitated, badly made, completely unethically made, credit stealing, ultra wealthy rich white dude further enriching generative AI crap and artistry and like what is actually positive about creating stories and writing and art and games and movies and music. What actually drove people to make things like Blade Runner and Doom and all these things that the AI artists are trying to generate with AI new things of. The things that actually made those films good, the things that make Barbie and even Oppenheimer, to the extent that it is I don't like Christopher Nolan particularly, but I mean it is a movie that at least he did invest himself into, and the reason why people like Barbie is not because it's about toys. It's because, in Barbie, they built entire sets and they had physical actors interact with those sets and had amazing amounts of care and love and energy and work put into the detail down to tiny little toothbrushes that are made to look like Barbie's toothbrushes, like the insides of fridges and the label, right? That lived in total marriage of all the skills of all of these different writers, actors, set designers, right, makeup people. That's what makes the things that people sit in front of 200-foot or 10-foot or in our case if you're on a phone like a 6 centimeter screen and whatever IMAX or 1080p or pocket size screen you're consuming it, the thing that makes people want to be there is all of that human connection, the relationality, the love that goes into those things, and also the relevance to their own lives, which an AI is never going to get. They are Mad Lib regurgitators, right? They are statistical human language mimicry software and human art mimicry software. They don't actually do art, right? And so there is a version of the future that just gets worse and worse and worse, right? And to be clear, the AI art future where all of the human energy and life and spirit is crushed and repackaged into little plagiarism software generated cubes to enrich a handful of the people who have sold their soul, right? That's all the CEOs and the crypto bros and the AI bros, to capitalism, right? To making tons of money, contributing nothing, right? The generative plagiarism software of ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion resemble CEOs, right? They resemble the leaders of the Western capitalist world, because those people, the CEOs, like Bob Iger, contribute nothing and consume everything, right? The AI consumes everything and it doesn't really contribute anything. It does what idea guys do. The idea guy, like Elon Musk, who writes his genius ideas on a napkin, and they're half-baked, not useful ideas that some other person who does work, right, usually an artist, engineer, whether it's rockets or cars, has to actually try to make sense of this ridiculous thing that the rich capitalist spoiled brat dude bro billionaire has written on. And so that's why it's usually privileged cis white straight dudes that are the ones that are really into the AI art, because that's what they do, is nothing, consume everything, contribute nothing, and make tons of money destroying everything, right? So AI, Stable Diffusion, ChatGPT resemble Bob Iger. They resemble Elon Musk. They see themselves reflected back in this terrible, sub-mediocre, useless bullshit generator. That's all they do is generate bullshit. So anyways, but that's what I mean by beyond the capitalism verse. And so if we want to get beyond that crappy future, like I make cyberpunk dystopias, if you want to get beyond the future of, as I just tweeted out earlier this morning, aside from tweeting out my new spiky, siren-eyed goth, indigenous, trans goth game dev self making anti-capitalist games, I also tweeted out Terminus Machina was the first total conversion, and the first Silver Spook, the Silver Spook game, the first was this game, a Deus Ex total conversion mod that basically just means that I changed basically everything and wrote a whole new story within the Deus Ex engine. And a homeless activist dodges robot cops and drone strikes in downtown San Fran amidst financial collapse and 90% AI-driven unemployment, and machine militaries crushing all the resistance. While he tries to grow food and jailbreak prison slaves into some kind of mass organized resistance and world-class war is an entity in Terminus Machina. That's the drone strikes. McSwiss is where you can buy austerity burgers, hyperinflation wraps, credit default swap burgers, and eat your children burgers. And so I brought this. I shared this again because, in part because that's where we're at. The AI is driving mass unemployment. That is one possible future, right? That is one possible, like if the Spider-Man goes into one verse is what one Spideyverse is where Spider-Man shows up and everyone in New York is impoverished, unemployed, and dead, and a handful of billionaires run everything, right? And then there's another future. He goes into the future, and there's lots of people are doing much better because they don't have to do as much work. They can do a lot of creative work, and robots do the jobs that they're best suited to, and people have lots of free time. And there's lots of people having really great lives, talking to each other, learning their own history, telling lots of stories in collaboration with machines and in collaboration with software, and things are much better. But it requires dealing. It requires dealing with, and that's what Terminus Machina was like. Basically, there is mass strikes, and then Terminus Machina is a lot further along the dark path where they crush all the strikers and all the resistance and all the Black Lives Matter and everyone that's trying to undo capitalism with just massive machine militaries. The thing is, the U.S. is not yet capable of doing such things. They don't have that. But if you work on the AI generally, certainly for the military-industrial complex, for the big corporations, all the facial recognition, pattern recognition, if capitalism, corporations, the U.S. military, imperialist entities are empowered and people move blindly in that direction, and even software engineers and programmers keep working in that direction and propping up. Oh yeah, this plagiarism software AI, that's the best thing ever, and we just got to make more AI. I just think AI everywhere. AI will do your job. AI will, be your accountant. AI will be your manager and your friend and your, it'll take your ancestry. It'll be your personality. It'll talk to your friends and your family for you. It's like, right? And so if people go along that pathway, that's part of Terminus Machina. That's why it's like the main character is a hacker program. He's a programmer. He's not a hacker. He's just a programmer who happens to not be doing what corporations want at the time. A lot of the times, right? And so the programmer guy, he defects from the U.S. empire. He's working for like an intelligence agency / the police, which / the corporations, which is all the same thing. So corporate state is all fused together. It always has been in the West, but certainly the U.S. And so he defects and he's working on AI to help liberate. He's working to tear down the system because he knows the system, right? That's the character Silver Spook in this game, Terminus Machina, to stop the robot drones and the robot mechs and the robot police that are just killing and destroying and crushing and threatening and aggressing against all of the masses of the population. And he's against toxic prisons. He like liberates people from prisons, and then they're chasing Silver Spook because he jailbroke all of the Orange is the New Black prison slaves who are unjustly incarcerated for just being left of Joe Biden, and that's why they're chasing him around San Francisco. But it has to do with that possible future where like it has to, the reality, Terminus Machina is I made it 10 years ago, so the AI unemployment and mass strikes that are happening now were predicted because I'm literally John Carper. I'm literally John Connor warped in like in Terminator from the future from 2027, and that's why I came back to 2009 to make this game to tell everyone about the future. I'm joking. I'm not actually John Connor from Terminator, but I do stylized journalism. I don't do science fiction. Is one thing I frequently say, but this is why it's coming true. In part, I think is because these were problems that I saw while I was studying to be, as I said, a Goldman Sachs high frequency trading algorithm programmer. I also studied to be an AI and artificial intelligence technician. I was going to go to Berkeley and work at, a Amazon, a Google, Facebook, U.S. military lab, some kind of, I might have been working with OpenAI, being a horrible henchman for Sam Shithead Altman, right, with his altcoin, his Altman coin. His Peter Thiel has a sphere, like a Palantir sphere that everyone looks into. They give biometric data over to it, and then it gives you some kind of AI coin that is about when AI makes all the money for everyone's universal basic income. Then you'll get it. I guarantee. I promise. Just put your iris, your cornea, your blood, your DNA, your brain patterns, your gait, your skin color, your hair color. Give your ovulation cycle and all of the food you've ever eaten and your entire family history for the last 2,000 years into this globe run by Silicon Valley military industrial complex imperialist ghouls like Peter Thiel, and someday you'll get some neat cash monies or something for being a crusty white nerd in UK staring into this globe. That's not a good future. If everyone stares into Peter Thiel and Sam Altman and Elon Musk globe and they just get sucked into some kind of cyber 2023 cyber version of the Euro Christian death cult that they that caused crusades and fought in needless wars over, right? That's kind of what this is. It's like the God machine is literally the singular worship of the AI is literally a religion, multiple religions under transhumanists and singularitarians. Ray Kurzweil is like one of the high priests of one of these unhinged techno crusaders, techno messianic Kool-Aid drinking death cults that come out of Silicon Valley and other of these cores. And that's a very bad place to be. Terminus Machina in part was because I was around all these people while studying, the electromagnetic symphony of the gray matter as neurons activate and strum the strings of the synapses, and I was learning about AI and brain and consciousness, and that, which is part of modern artificial intelligence and a part of big data, what was nascent at the time. All the people who are involved in that, they're really messed up, sadly. Eugenicists, not all the worst host of eugenicists, Nazis, all the people that got pulled out by Operation Gladio and Paperclip, all these unhinged people, part also tied up with Oppenheimer, like U.S. military-industrial complex, neocons, strangelove ghouls, right, plotting to conquer and rule over the world, even if it's a radioactive ashes, 99% dead world. Those are the kind of people that are in the upper echelons of AI. By extension, they're in the upper echelons of Disney, Sony, and all of the entertainment verse. And they're driving it in a really bad direction as well. Well, the people who work on the AI that the Disney is trying to replace, all of the artists, writers, actors, etc., are the same kind of people. They're tech people. You know, so when Silicon Valley has been really slowly eating Hollywood in one sense. Not that Hollywood was good to begin with. It's just a propaganda arm of the U.S. empire. But it is, Silicon Valley has its own, more Northern Californian, really warped and distorted view on things, which is all about everything is simultaneous in an engineering problem, and the engineering problem is how do we some warped, like, disconnected from reality and disconnected from all of your human and non-human relatives, sort of version of long-termism, or we just have to program some super intelligent machine and that will solve crime and poverty and war, cure all cancer and make everything into some kind of heaven on earth, right? Or heaven inside of a machine earth or something, right? And that thinking is just, I know that thinking because I've been around that, that's where cyberpunk, I was in. William Gibson's, people who read a lot of his work is a lot of these people, right? The Deus Ex is Gibson's fans. Deus Ex itself, which is Elon Musk's favorite game, was Warren Spector, hung around a lot of singularitarians, was friends with Bruce Sterling, who was very close friends with William Gibson. And that's, so all the cyberpunk, sci-fi, AI, Silicon Valley, big tech people, it is a circle of with many deeply infected with cancerous, self-destructive thought processes that they can't really disentangle for themselves. I don't know what's going to happen with that. What I do know is that we have to, the people who actually do the work, and the people who actually understand what it is to exist and to be human and understand, their actual lives in the context of the history and in the context of, the people have not completely lost their humanity, to these unhinged, messianic, unhealed ideologies that descend from the colonial era, I would argue, certainly, and even before that. But these really, really sick ideologies, those people have to strike, People have the human, like Douglas Rushkoff, who is another person who was wrapped up in Silicon Valley for a long time. He has a whole book called Team Human. It's like there's a small percentage of people that have massive power because of their centrality within the new nuclear weapons, the new most powerful substance, the new oil and the new nuclear weapons that are AI. Even the military acknowledges that. And those handful of programmers and their capitalist venture bros that are all kind of conflating around, kind of like an accretion disk around this death spiral that's going to obliterate everything with AI plus nuclear weapons. Those people have to be taken out of power. Those people have to be shown up. Those people and their system, that is capitalism, that they are currently defending, whether they like it or not, has to be annihilated. It has to be annihilated, or everything else will be annihilated. So, anyways, I'm gonna start speaking more and more in weird cyberpunk poetic tongues as my blood sugar drops. So I should probably quit while I'm ahead. It's 12:21. I gotta go stream in about a little while, so I should get off. Thanks for watching this stream. Don't forget, support SAG-AFTRA, support your writers, support your actors, support all workers. Support me continuing to do Goth Girlfriend stuff, and Holly as well. We can be two goth moms and sometimes two goth parents, and also Get Neofeud's not on sale right now, but you can wishlist it and support everything that we do here at the Silver Spoon Cooperative. Don't forget you can get it on Steam with Neofeud is a game that is about this feature. In fact, Neofeud 2 is nearly done. I'm very close to being done. So don't forget to leave a very short review if you have a second to do that. That is massively appreciated. Don't forget to check it out on itch.io if you don't use Steam. Get all the games at the Silver Spoon bundle. Neofeud, Decolonators, where you kick capitalist colonizer. Speaking of ending capitalism, play a game where you kick capitalist colonizer butts and end capitalism in history. That's a thing that has happened before. It's pretty amazing stuff. So I made a game about that called Decolonators. Also, Indigistar and Pigeon with Gun is a game where you play a pigeon with a gun fighting Bob Iger. No, I'm sorry, giant robot gajillionaires. And you can also get Woman, which is a book about being raised in right-wing evangelical Protestant Christianity, which Holly was, and is free, or throw some money our way to help us out when you pick it up. You can also follow at Silverspoon Games at Octodon.social, at Silverspoon Games at Mastodon.social on Twitter. Actually, I have 3 Twitter accounts. I have Silverspoon Glams, Silverspoon Guy, and Silverspoon Games. So follow all of them, none of them, one of them, 2 of them, or any. I think that's basically it. So I don't think there's any other possible permutation. But consider following any of all those. You can also follow Terminus C is Terminus Cyberstar. I talked a little bit about the Terminus C is a sequel to Terminus Machina. A DSX, my DSX Total Conversion, and you can follow it here. Join the Discord if you want to. I am the content director and lead writer of this game, and also don't forget that you can also follow Holly at the Tech Fairy, mod married to myself, producer manager with Kate Nix TV, and is also of course this show is coming every week with music and variety shows and fun on Twitch. And Holly's also parent and caregiver with myself to Keikis or children here in Hawaii, and also tweeting and sharing important things like this. That's not yeah, lots of good stuff. So if you want to follow Holly, don't forget to follow. Also, Nyeti Okorafor wrote a really cool book, so follow Nyeti too. If you have not read Binti, read it. And finally, thanks a lot to everybody who has supported us in the Patreon. Without your support, it makes it very difficult to continue to do this work that we do here at the Silver Spoon Cooperative. So consider joining them, and you get access to the Silver Spoon Discord behind the scenes on what we're doing at the Silver Spoon Cooperative and Silver Spoon University, which is a multitude of hours with all of the content I've ever put out, categorized according to topics. So consider supporting us and getting all that. And now is the end of the stream, so I can get back after sleeping for the Twitch stream later on. Until next time, keep your mirror shade polished, be excellent to each other, support the SAG after strikes, and let's get beyond the crapitalism.